So welcome to the colored pencil bicycle at the beach drawing. Um, I am Anita Thompson for those that are new, and I teach mostly for libraries, but also other places. Um, and this is sponsored by the Village Library of Wrightstown. This will be recorded. You will not be recorded, just my voice and what you see above here. Welcome, Ray. And I will recopy the stuff in the chat here. If you have a ruler, it's helpful just because we make a border around our paper. If you want to start doing that, we can start doing the border around our paper first. And then I will start, explaining what this is. So I'm going to grab my ruler to the right here. And so you're probably wondering, well, how much of a border do you want to do? You can pick and choose. This is 9 by 12. I did like, it's really just, it's like quarter of an inch, not even, yeah. It's like a tiny border. Basically, what I did was I just wanted to kind of frame out the picture so that we're not running along the edge of the paper. So you don't even have to use a ruler if you don't want to. I just like to make it. So see, I'm going to go just really, really close to the edge here. The other thing is, if you feel like you want to make this smaller than 9 by 12, you can do that. There's a lot of detail in this. This program does go until 8. But if you prefer to have a smaller piece to work on, if you think that will be easier for you, you're welcome to do that. It doesn't change anything that I'm going to say as far as, we're not really measuring anything. It doesn't have to be a certain size. I just picked it being bigger because the original that I did in pastel was this size. So I just went with it. So yeah, this was originally a pastel and we turned it into a colored pencil. So I think you will enjoy all the colors that we layer in here. The other thing is I will be zooming in and out so that you can see. And if you like, I'm going to hold this up a little bit closer in case anybody wants to take a picture. I know some people like to do that, take more of a close-up. And oops. And let me know if you need me to do that again. Let's see, did somebody just come in? No. Okay. All right. Just wanted to fix the light for a second. Okay, I'm back. All right. So I'm just going to explain something real quickly before we get started with this. We will not be starting with the bike yet, but I wanted to explain a little bit about ellipses. So an ellipse is similar to a circle. So I just have one of my oh my gosh, what do you call these things? Coasters, right? And so we've got a circle. And if I start to kind of turn it, the circle changes the way that you would draw it, right? So now it's kind of on the side. And so it's not a flat circle anymore. So if we think of it almost like a tire, right? And I rotate it, when I rotate it this way, your circle's going to get flatter in a sense. Now the tire is really flat, not technically, but so if we think about the tire here, right? This is a little bit the opposite, but these are all circles and basically, or ellipses. And as you turn them, they get flatter. So it's almost like you're sitting on your circle, right? So if you were to think about, usually if a bike, is straightforward, right? Our wheels are like a circle. But they're not. This one is almost a circle, but it's tilted. And this one is really tilted. So I just wanted to kind of explain that real quickly without getting into the specifics. Just thinking about that your circle is going to be twisted. So, again, we have our circle here and it starts to turn and we have our ellipse. So it's almost like it's squished. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we're going to start and I will instruct. But we don't have to worry yet about the bike because we're going to do the background first with the drawing. So first you need your pencil with your eraser or a separate eraser. And what we're going to do first is we're going to actually draw the horizon line. So where the sky meets the water, and we're also going to be drawing the shape of the sand and the grasses here. And so we're going to come down from our paper, maybe about it's actually about halfway now that I look at it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the shape of the grasses. So if we look beyond the bike and I look at this shape, it's sort of like a triangle. So let's do that. We're going to come down and we're just going to draw this sort of triangle. And the triangle is going to go toward the corner, the bottom left corner of our paper. Now you want to make sure that you draw lightly, just enough so that you can see it. And we might be readjusting that once we put in our horizon line. But I wanted to let you know, or I wanted to show you, basically you want that basic shape. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to come about right here and we're going to make the horizon line. And you're just going to go straight across. So you're above the pointed area of your triangle. So that triangle, remember, that's this part here, and then we're going to draw our sand. And our sand is going to be, well, it's really our sandy walk here. If you notice, the line for the horizon is straight, but this line is not for the path, right? And then guess what? You're going to draw another sort of triangle in the bottom right corner. So I need to adjust this a little bit in the way that I'm going to adjust it, because I want this to go a little bit more outward toward the path. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, meaning my triangle here. Now, again, this is just to show you basically the shape of our grasses, right, on either side, where our horizon line comes in. Okay, so now we're going to start the bike, and I'm going to go in really close. So you're going to see that I will be readjusting the camera here and there, going in and out. Let's see, what's that? Is the point in the middle of the paper? Oh, you mean this point? Not really. I would say it's close though. I would say the middle of the paper, right there. So it's probably to the right of the middle of the paper. But if yours is in the middle, that's okay too, because it's not that far, it's not that much further over. Okay, so we're going to start with the left or the front of the bicycle wheel. And so here's what we're going to do. Our bicycle wheel over here is further down than this one. Because again, if I'm using my pencil as a straight line, you can see that this bicycle wheel doesn't touch. So this is a little further back than this one. Not by much, but just slightly. So we're going to keep that in mind after we draw the second one. We're also going to now take a look at the left side of our paper and where our bicycle comes in, right? So here's our triangle. And we have, a little more past our triangle. And so I would say that it would come in about right here. So you're going to make kind of a mark there, and then we're going to draw our ellipse. So this is the bottom of the wheel. And now from here, you're going to go up. And so you're drawing it kind of like a circle, but it's an ellipse. And remember, it's flattened. So for now, it's going to look like this at first. And we're going to add to it. This is the inside of your wheel. Okay, now we're going to draw the outside of the wheel. So I'm going to erase inside the wheel so that that line isn't there anymore. You're welcome to do the same. So our wheel, I'm going to show this up close. So what you see is the front part of the wheel that is sort of facing us. And then because it's an ellipse, we then see the underside, so the inside of the wheel. And that's because, remember, our ellipse is like this. And so we see, it's a three-dimensional object, the tire, and we see the inside part, the part that you inflate. Anyway, wanted to kind of just give a background on that real quickly, just so you don't get confused about what we're drawing. All right, so now we're going to go on the left outside, and I'm going to go in really close now so that you can see. And so what we're going to do is we're going to draw almost like a skin, right? Like an outer section. And then we're going to clip it like right here at the bottom. I'm going to draw this darker so you can see. Yours should be light. Mine is just going to be dark so you can see. I'm thinking I might even have to adjust my ellipse a little bit. It should be a little bit higher up. Okay, so we have the outside, right? We clip it right here for now. Just gonna erase that so you don't get confused. You might already be confused, but I'm going to try to help you not to be. Now, for the inside, depending on how thick your ellipse is in here, you might have to draw it from the outside, like this. And you want to make sure that this part underneath starts to curve. And so you may have to make sort of like a letter C So erasing it and making a letter C. And you're going to kind of do the same up here, just in the opposite direction. Ooh, somebody else coming on. Hi, Deborah. I don't know if you were on before, but welcome. I just copied the supplies in the chat. Oh. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. You know what? I'm going to bring it up. So let me make this line a little bit darker. So it's kind of like a ring. You're welcome. So I just thought of that. You know what? If you're thinking of a ring, right? Here's the open part of the ring. And let's say, right, there's the ring. So it's kind of like the tire. But inside, we would see the other part of the ring, the back part. If it's easier for you to draw it like that and then thin it out, you could do that. So what you would do is you would kind of turn your ellipse, right, on, or I'm sorry, this part on the side. So this is the part you would draw first, making it darker. Then you would make it three-dimensional, like this. And then you would see the other side because of the way it's turned. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but that's kind of like, it's kind of a tire shape. I just thought of that. So, and then, you could slim it down. And so basically what you would do, like, let's pretend we're gonna cut the tire. It's a thick tire, we're gonna cut it. So you can see my line is curved. It's not straight, it's curved. And then I'm going to erase this part so that I have a nice thin tire. And there we go. We have an ellipse. We have a tire. I should have thought of that before. I apologize. Okay, so now move this up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start off first with the top part of the left side, or front part really, of the bike. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be very sketchy with our lines. And so we're going to start off here for the center of the bike spokes. Not the spokes. We're not drawing the spokes. I'm not sure what this is called here. I'm not sure, but we're going to make it a line for now. And then right from there, we have the part of the tire, or I should say of the bike, right? It's going to kind of hug as it goes up. Basically, we're making the front part of the bike. This is where the basket is going to be, and the rest of the bike. I'm going to make my tire. I don't think I made my tire big enough. So so you can still adjust your tire because we're not doing anything else to the tire right now. We just want to get the basic shape of everything in. So if I were to do lines, we're going to make a single line here for the shape of the bike so that we can tell where it's going to end up. So here is the front part. We're going to turn this. And we're going to start to turn it downward. But it's going to be slanted. So what we're doing right now is we're making just the lines of the shape of the bike, and then we're going to make it three-dimensional. And we're going to draw in real quickly the basket as well so that we have perspective on where everything should be. So this is our basket. You can see that it's tilted a bit, right? So it's not straight. It's tilted just a bit. We're not worrying about the flowers. And from this part of the basket, we're going to make the top part. And then we have our seat. I'm going to, for now, erase or lighten up my one line so that you can see. I'm going to make this darker. Here is the seat. This is so you can see where we're at. Make this a little taller. So your bike seat should be shorter than where your basket is. But it should also be a little bit higher than, it's going to be higher than your second tire, your back tire. And then we're going to make the back tire. So for right now, this is just basically, I'm going to erase the other lines to my background so that it doesn't confuse you, so that you know this is the bike. We're going to go back and make it more three-dimensional, and we're going to fix angles, but we want to get the basic shape of the bike in. And then from there, we fix the bike. So we're going to now make our other tire. And remember, we want our other tire to be slightly back from this one. So you're going to take your pencil and line it up with your front tire. Axle, thank you. I could not think of it. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to take a look here, and I want the bottom of my back tire to be slightly lower, or I should say slightly back compared to this tire here. This tire is more in the front. And we're going to do the same thing where we make the ellipse. But this time, the ellipse is going to be a bit more round. So this is either, I don't know if it's easier for you to make the inside of the tire or the outside of the tire. Basically, you want to make sure that you have room for making the tire look three-dimensional. So I made, in this one, the outside of the tire. And now I'm making the inside. And I'm thinking, again, as if it were a ring. So I'm making the outer layer. I'm going to erase my sketchy lines. I'm going to make this darker so you can see. And then what you're going to do, remember, if this is sort of like a ring. So this one, we only actually see a little bit of underneath. And so what we're going to do is you just make a curved line here at the bottom. So see what I did here? Because of the way it's angled, we make a curved line here. So like a C. And now we can see the underside here of the tire. How's everyone doing so far? Do you need more help on, on any part? Oops, sorry, my hair got in the way. Because now at this stage, if you want, you can fix, like I'm realizing I need to make the inside of my ellipse here just a little bit bigger. So that my tire, the outside of my tire, comes out a little more. And now we're going to make everything three-dimensional. So that means this part of the bike. Oh, it's going to come down here. And actually, I'm going to make this go up a little higher. Because it's going to go toward the middle part of your tire. Like so. So you want to make a kind of like a circle in the middle of your tire. And that's where the rest of your bike will attach. I'm going to fix my other part here. And then we want to make the rest of it three-dimensional here. So right here, we make it three-dimensional. And then remember to erase your previous lines. And then you want to make the seat three-dimensional too, the part where it has the seat. And that goes down right where next to the tire. And then remember just to erase the other sketchy lines. Remember to make the bike seat. And part of that bike seat will be covered up by the flowers, but again, make everything very light right now. And then we're not going to worry about anything else on the bike right now. We just want the basic shape. Oh, one more thing though we do want to make is the handle. It comes out behind our basket. So we can make the shape of that. I'm going to make my basket a little bit bigger. Or I should say wider. Okay. All right, so we want to make sure we still have our horizon line in, right? We have a bit of our the grasses line here, right? And then we also want to still make sure if you did erase the part where the angle of the path, you want to make sure to add that back in too. Behind the tire. And now we're going to start coloring. So we're going to start with the sky. So we need our blues, and I'm going to put those out. So we need light blue and sky blue. If you only have one of those, like if you have light blue and you don't have sky blue, that's okay. You also need regular blue. So just, it's going to look like a dark blue if it's Crayola. Let me fix my camera here. And I'm going to go in. And we're going to need our white. And we're going to need our pink. So colors we're going to need are, again, the light blue, the sky blue, if you have it. If not, one of those is fine. The regular blue, and it's going to look like a really dark blue if it's Crayola, but it's regular blue. And then a pink or a rose color, something that's pinkish, and then white. And then we're going to use our sky blue, or again, if you don't have sky blue, if you just have light blue, that's fine too. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to show this up close. So basically our sky is colored in, but we think about where we're going to add our clouds. Your clouds don't have to look exactly like mine, but what you want to do is pre-draw out where those clouds are going to be. So what I mean is, and again, I'm going to go in really close so you can see. So we're going to start up here at the top. And so I want a cloud, and I'm going to go darker because you can't see it on Zoom, I'm realizing. So I'm going to go darker, and I'm going to kind of create the cloud, the shape of the cloud. And our clouds should be not like clouds that you would, they're not real fluffy, like, when you were in kindergarten and you make clouds in the sky. They're kind of longish, right? And so
Is that light blue or sky blue?
this is sky blue.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, so sky blue, the difference between sky blue and light blue. Sky has a little bit more, I feel like it's almost like there's a little bit of turquoise almost. And then the light blue is very blue, very much more of a lighter blue in the sense. But again, you can use either one. I just really like to start off with a sky blue. And then, so what I'm doing is I'm kind of making jagged clouds. And then we're going to be coloring all around them. So again, this should be very light. You don't want to make it like this, right? Because that's hard to it's gonna not look as realistic. That's what I'm trying to say. So you kind of want to make it wispy, almost translucent. We have some cloud work here. We also want to be aware, though, of where we're going to be drawing our flowers. And so what I like to do is I kind of make like a shape of about where our flowers are going to be. This is going to look really weird. Going to look like our basket has a hat on. We are going to get to doing the flowers before we actually do this part, but I wanted to kind of introduce to you how to really create the sky and draw in the shapes of the clouds first. And you can always add more clouds as you're going because you're going to be doing the sky first. So I'm kind of drawing in some of my clouds. I may add some more, but before we start coloring in the sky, we're going to put our blue down because we now want to kind of draw in some of our flowers for our basket. So, put your blue down for a second and we're going to start drawing some of the basket, some of the flowers in the baskets. And the way I do that is I first use circles to kind of show where I want to put. And I'm going to make this darker so you can see it on Zoom because I know it's really light. So I'm going to start to just kind of sketch out about where I want all of my flowers. And here again, this does not have to be perfectly looking like mine. But I want to sketch out, this flower's a little bigger. And if you're not familiar with my classes, I make up my own flowers. They kind of look rose-like. And then I just learned that I really like, I have learned one flower that I really like besides roses. I know roses. I hope I can say it right. Peony? Did I do it back at? Yes. Okay. I never got into flowers before, and my husband just started his garden. And we went to this place called Gasper's that we'd never gone to before. It was amazing. And so they had everything. I mean, it was just amazing. I think we were there for 3 hours just walking around and um, I can't wait to go back. But they had peonies there. And it was the first time I knew what they were called. I've heard the word, I've seen the flowers. I didn't know that that's what they were. So it's like now my new favorite flower. And I actually know what it is. Anyway, I'm going to put, I'm kind of going to put one of those in here. This was done way before I knew what a peony was, but anyway, so once I have the circles in, we're now going to make them look more sort of rose-like by then going inside the circle and kind of making shapes like this to kind of make it look like a flower. So I start off in the middle and I make a circle. And it's not always at the middle of the actual cylinder. I'm just going to go a little closer now so you can see. So see, maybe I'll put one here. And then I kind of make like almost like petals shapes around it. Um, I did make one up here that looked a little more like a rose that was standing up or like a tulip. So I kind of made two shapes like that. And make sure you leave room for the leaves as well. But if you have flowers and you know how to draw other flowers and you're familiar with other flowers, I mean, you can put daisies in there. See, I know some basic ones, but um, right now I'm getting into birds. So I figured flowers will be next. I never paid attention to this stuff when I was younger, and it's so funny. I don't know if this is a thing, if this, if it's like as you get older, you just start paying attention more to different things in nature. It's like I'm looking at butterflies now and going, I don't know what kind of butterfly that is, and I need to know. So I don't know. But anyway, I think flowers are next. So, just kind of lightly sketch in each one what you want it to look like. And again, lightly because we're going to be going over these in the colored pencils. But if you can kind of sketch them out ahead of time so that you know what you want them to look like, it will save you time. I feel like all of mine, they kind of look like there's an eye sort of in the, off to the right or in the middle. And then I did have one over here that was kind of tulip-like, that's kind of hanging out from the rest. But they all kind of look the same, my flowers. They're all kind of rose-like. So, and you can make your basket look like anything, right? Remember that we also have um, some vines kind of dripping down the basket. I have two. You are welcome to put more. And they're basically just, kind of a scraggly line with sort of these shapes. You can make more things that look more like leaves if you like. Um, to be honest, I didn't pay as much attention to the basket as probably I could have. Um, so if you want your basket to be much more incredibly detailed than mine, um, please do. But now that we have our basket, I'll give everybody another minute, but then we're going to actually start in on our sky. We're going to go back to our sky. When you're finished drawing the sort of your flowers for the basket. And you can always go back to that too. Um, but so what we want to do is we're going to be using our colored pencils in a way that you may not always be used to using them. We're not going to be using them the whole time as a pencil. We're going to be using the sides of them. So basically, you're going to want to kind of hold it like this. You're going to be using it almost like kind of like a crayon, I guess. So that basically you can start to get more of a flowier kind of feel. And so you're going to start very lightly filling in your sky. And you're going to work around your clouds.
And this is still with the sky blue?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is with the sky blue if you have it. And we're kind of going light at first. We just want to put down a layer of blue. And guess what? It doesn't have to be perfect because we don't want it to be perfect. We want it to be more impressionistic. So if I kind of show you up close, again, all the lines in there, right? It's not perfect. The white of the paper is showing through. We're going to go over this again, but what I'm trying to relay to you is that it doesn't have to be all filled in, right? And that especially because we want colors to mix in. And that's basically what is going to happen with our grasses too, and the path. These parts actually go faster than you think. And when you get to the basket, make sure to kind of go around everything. You can just very lightly shade it in or shade around it. You're going to shade up into, remember the part that you have for your grasses. You're going to shade up until that. Once we draw in the grasses, you can always go back and add a little more. And here's the other thing that you can do. If, we're going left to right or sort of to the side, you can go back and go in the other direction too. So what I'm doing now, because I'm here along the edge, it's okay to switch directions when you're coloring. You don't have to do it right away. You can do it after. But this is a very sort of a light sky, and it's also not an incredibly realistic sky in the sense of making sure every piece of the paper is covered with the blue. We are going to get darker in certain areas, but it's not like we're sitting and concentrating on the sky for 30 minutes. It's a quicker layout of the colors. So that should sort of be like your first layer. You can see that it's very light. It's also very unfinished looking. And after you do the first layer of the sky, I then want you to get into the first layer of your water. And I will show you how to do that too. And for now, we're going to use this same color blue for the water. But we make sure that we have a darker line for the horizon line. And then, so this is for the water. We then actually go in with our blue and we start to skip spaces on the white paper to make it look like the waves, right? The white of the foam. And you're going to kind of fill that in until you get to the path. So you want to kind of redefine that line for the path. And again, this is just same blue, Debbie. Yeah, for now, the same blue, but you do want to make sure it's darker at the horizon line. See right here so that you can see that you know, that's the separation of water versus sky. Also making sure you go around, you know, your other elements of, you know, the bicycle here, depending on how far down your water goes. You just want to make sure to go around any other elements like the tires or the tire and the bicycle seat. Now we're going to go back up to our sky, and we're now going to start to, oh, for the water, you want to do straight, like straight lines. They can be slightly angled, um, but not real angled. But as far as the sky, you then want to go back and we're going to start to make it parts a little darker. So still we're using the sky blue and we're going to go into the top right corner. Let me move my camera over. And so top right corner, and we're going to kind of go a little darker all across the top of our paper. And once we do that, we're going to go down the right side of our paper and we're going to make it a little bit darker from the top right corner and kind of all down the right side. So the other thing is you can, when you're filling in the color, you can go in circles and then kind of fill it in. You can change direction. Basically, we want texture, some texture in the sky. But remembering that you have clouds there, so we don't want to go over the clouds yet. We will be adding some color to the clouds. And you can start to add a little bit of shape to the edges of the clouds as well at this point. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to go in really close and kind of show you. I'm going to show you on the finished one so that you can see what I'm talking about. So basically, like I would come in here and, you know, I'm going to like go a little bit darker so that you can kind of see that I've made a shape out of it by coloring all around. And so that's what you want to do. Hi, Becca. Right? So you see how I'm kind of making the shape by coloring around the white spot. And then once we go back in and add a little more color to it, it's going to look even more natural. So that's what we're doing right now. We're now basically and so you can now vary how dark you want it in parts. Like when I come up to sort of an edge and underneath the cloud, I tend to make it a little darker.
Did you do it again?
So now we're just basically kind of filling in around the clouds, making it another layer of blue. And also when we get to each of the clouds, we don't outline them, but we sort of outline parts of them because we're coloring up against the line of the cloud, if that makes sense. Like here, I'm, so again, because I color right around it, I'm sort of making the line, but I'm not drawing the line. Now, you can start to also add in your sky blue. And so the sky blue, I have put along the edges of each side and also at the top. Oops, I sharpened it so much I broke it. All right. That's better. Okay, so again, using the same method, going on the side. Now, if it is easier, if you find it easier to do it where you use it as a pencil, please go ahead and do that. I like using the side, and I did use the sides for this piece. It covers a lot more ground, or I should say sky. I'm sorry, I'm really corny. So you're going to mix this in again with parts of the sky. It does not have to be the entire sky. As I mentioned, I used it up top. We're going to add some gray to that part too. And then I used it in the top right corner as I'm going along the edge of the sky. You can see me kind of adding it here. And I go kind of all the way down on the right side with it. And we also go into the water with this. If you are, basically we make the water a very similar color, but then we're going to go back in with our regular blue, or what's going to look like dark blue, to make it a little darker than our sky. Funny, I'm looking on Zoom and the blues almost have like a grayish tint to them on Zoom, but they're not like that. My pencils aren't like that. I have not used gray yet. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're also going to use our pink. So if you're not finished with your sky, it's okay. But we want to grab our pink, and we're actually going to very incredibly lightly go on top of our clouds. And basically what I'm doing is I'm scribbling on top of them. So for instance, like, let me see if you can tell. I'm just scribbling. I'm not particularly making the cloud completely pink. And I'm also not afraid to go into the sky with the pink because we're going to be doing that. But do a little scribble of pink in your clouds. And then you're going to add some pink to your sky. So this is going to give it kind of a lavenderish kind of color, because blue and red make purple. And so light blue and light pink make lavender. It's just a lighter version of purple. So here again, you can switch. I'm switching directions in my line work. I'm actually now going at an angle in my sky. I'm going sort of up and down, but I'm going kind of like left to right with my strokes. And that's going to add to my sky. And I'm not worried about concentrating in any particular section of the sky. I just want to get some nice layers of color. We don't put the pink in the water at all. I mean, if you want to, I guess you could, but I did not originally. All right, so we have the pink, and now we're actually going to grab our gray. So if you have gray, you're going to grab your gray and you're going to go up top and you're going to color in sort of in a straight line the top part of the sky. So not the cloud, at least not yet. Top part. And we're going to go a little bit into the rest of the sky with the gray on the left side. And we're going to do the same on the right side. So I only kind of go maybe about like up to here or up to here with the gray. Here again, if you want yours to be a little darker using gray, you can absolutely choose to do that. But we're going to hit this with one more, kind of one more blue. And we're going to grab our sky blue again. This was the original blue that we used. And we're going to go up in the left corner. And so now we're going to make things a little bit darker in certain areas. And we're now also going to be adding a little bit onto our clouds, but like just a few lines so that the clouds are not completely white yet. And then we're going to grab our white. And guess what? We're going to go over the entire sky with our white. And so what we're now doing, that even the clouds, like everything, we are now calling, this is called burnishing. We're basically flattening some of the color or actually making it sort of blend. We're kind of blending. So we're smoothing it out. And we want kind of the clouds to sort of melt into the sky a little bit. So if you did happen to make any areas a little bit more where it looks like the lines of the clouds are defined, this is going to make it a little more wispy. And again, this is just kind of a, going over the whole thing. And you're also going to do it to your water. And then you're going to pick up your regular blue and we're going to go into the water and outline that line from the water and do a little bit of some shading with our blue. And we're going to go into our water and shade a little with this regular blue. And so see how we were kind of skipping around the water. You're going to add this blue to your water. And again, it's just kind of real quick lines. You don't want to fill it all in because it's water. And that's going to conclude our sky for now. And we're going to go into our grasses. So we want our yellow. And what we now want to do is remember how we made our triangle lines, right, on either side. We want to lighten up those lines here at the top because we want to make sure that we make the grasses, kind of curve over. You're going to do the same thing on the right side. You're going to erase your pencil line, at least where it's leading up to your, on the right side, where it's kind of against your water. Now we're going to be using our yellow. And what you're going to do is you're going to very quickly color in the whole section of your grasses with yellow. So here again, it's the entire section on the left side. Make sure you also go in between, or I should say behind your bicycle. And once you do that, you can erase your pencil line of where you had the sort of stop for the grasses. And you're going to do the same on the right side. You're going to fill in with the light yellow. And this is just our base. This is our base color. And we're going to make grasses on top of this. So again, at this stage, what we're doing is we have erased the pencil lines for, our triangular shapes. And we have now put in a layer of light yellow. And after you do that, we're going to come up to our half and you're going to grab your peach. If you don't have peach, you can use tan. If you don't have tan, you can use brown very lightly. Brown. We will be using brown anyway. But basically, same situation that we did with the sky. You're going to very lightly shade the entire path using either your peach, your tan, or very lightly your brown. And so what we're going for, we're not looking at the shadows right now, but what we're looking for is a sandy, kind of a sandy color, right? And there's lots of different colors in sand, right? So there's like brown, there's the peach, there's a light brown, but you can still see the white of the paper. So basically, I want you to very lightly, same thing, kind of scribble in using the one color. This is for our sandy path. So you have to kind of get behind the bike. And then you're going to grab your next color. Now, if you had the peach, you can grab the tan. If you just had the tan, you can now grab the brown. But if not, grab your tan, and we're just going to go a little bit darker right here where it starts, where the water is. So we're just going to kind of fill that in a little darker. And then we're going to do a layer, right? We're going to see how I'm, adding it, but it's not in any kind of consistent way. But as we get to the bottom of our page, we want to make it a little darker with our shading. So here I am here toward the kind of left side. And I'm concentrating it a little more. But here again, still see the white of the paper. All right, and now we're going to come back to the grasses. And we're actually going to use our light green. So this is yellow green. I have yellow green in Crayola. And we're going to make grass all over with the green. I'm going to go in really close now. So this is our first layer. And you're going to do, wide strokes, and your grasses are going to go this way to the right on this side. So from left to right, like the wind is blowing it this way. And so the way we do grasses, you can see, I sort of pick a point, and I almost, then just really quickly, it's almost like hair. And we don't want to fill it in entirely with green. This is just one of the colors, right? So kind of sporadically, and also remembering to get behind your tires and the bike, making sure though, to put green on there. And then you also want to make sure to start extending your grasses into the sky and onto the path, onto the edge here of the path, right? Because your grasses would do that. And especially when you get into the bottom left corner here, you can make them a little bit long. Now, when you get into the other corner, you're going to do the opposite way of making the grass. So again, our grass goes this way on this side and this way on this side. So you should still be able to see, the yellow. Because we're going to add the golden yellow. And even some tan. We basically build up the color. But we just have a little bit of green in here. Not, it's not the deciding factor here. So after our green, we're going to grab, if you have the peach, you can very quickly. So here again, these colors are very quick layers. These are just to add more color underneath sort of the gold and the brown. So here I'm adding peach, just like I did with the green. Oops. And then when you are finished with the, when you're finished with that, you want to grab the tan after the peach. So you should start to see now that your grass is starting to get more layered. Remember to go, again, behind your bike and extend onto your path here. You can extend your grasses onto your path because that's going to make it look more realistic, right? Just a little bit, like here along the edge. You can already see now, your line should be disappeared from when you drew sort of the shape of your triangular area. So this is, I'm using my tan. I'm going to go on the other side. Karen, Rebecca, and everybody, is it okay if we go like 10 minutes after this one? Like 8, is that okay? Okay, thanks.
If folks are committed elsewhere and need to drop off, don't forget you get the recording.
Yep, exactly. Make sure you get in the corners, right, of your drawing here. So after the tan, we are now going to finally pick up our golden yellow. If I can find my golden yellow. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Okay. I was like, whoa. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to color in. So we're going to burnish like we did with the white. You're taking your yellow and you're now going to color in that whole section so that now it's going to, again, it's going to sort of make that area nice and golden, but also it's going to bring all of that color together a little bit more. You know, and you can make individual, you can make individual golden, grasses sort of come out off of that. But then you're going to do the same on the right side. Nice golden color. Kind of tie it all together. And then we're going to grab our brown. And so this is where we're going to add our darker areas. And we're also going to add some sort of wheat-like textures on the right side. But first, let's go over to the left side. And we're going to add our brown. You know, you can also, just like how we were sort of coloring in, you can do that with this as well. So I'll get where I go in a section and I kind of color it for a minute, and then I make individual grass. What that's going to do is it's going to make it look more thicker, more like grass, like there's kind of clumps. You don't have to do it like that, but I find, I felt like it looked a little more like it was like grass with, some of the darker sections by coloring in just a little bit. And I tend to get more brown in the corners of each side. So down at the bottom here, I'm going to add a little more brown grasses. That's just what I did. I went a little bit darker some areas, and then the same on the right side. You know, and you can make some grasses, you know, really tall. But remembering to curve them, you know, not so much straight lines, because these are like, you know, the wispy grasses, the beach. And you're probably wondering about, you know, some of the kind of like, you know, wheat-like shapes. And so what I did for those was I would individually go in and I would make a curved line, and then I'd skip and kind of make a dot. Not a dot, but like a more like a line. I will show that here. So here I'm going to randomly make, you know, a little bit darker of a line. And I'm going to add sort of a disjointed line after it. And it makes it look like, you know, there's wheat or some other grasses. I like to add some up here. You can add it on the other side too if you want. I did not in the original, but you can do that. I don't know why I decided to do it over here. That. And if you want to give it another burnish, you can grab your white and kind of quickly go over it. You don't have to. And again, this is just something I do kind of quickly. And we're going to do it, you know, while I'm thinking of that, we're going to do it to the path too with the white. So if you decide not to do it with the grasses, you still want to do it with the path. Because we're going to finally add the, we're going to start the bike. And then the last thing is we will add the shadowing. So we're going to start with the tires of the bike, which is black. I feel like I'm losing my pencils here. I'm not sure where I'm putting things. Here we go. Okay, so our black, we're going to start with the tires. And so we're going to do, basically, I like to erase a little bit or lighten up my lines. We're going to start with the front tire here. And so you're going to basically just copy what you did, you know, the outline. Of that tire. And we're going to go on the inside of the tire first and shade. because it's darker. But I like to kind of start off with making it a little bit sort of a medium dark. And we leave some white space here in that tire. And the other part of the tire on the left side, we actually only shade along the edge. And once you get that down, you then want to go darker on the inside with your black. But we're gonna leave that tire alone for now, and we're gonna pick up our dark blue because we're gonna outline the body of the bike. So we're taking our dark blue. We are outlining the body of the bike. And once we do that, we're going to pick up our sky blue and we're going to start shading the body. But I want you to leave some white spaces. So, for instance, right here on the top part of the bike, leave it a little bit lighter shading on the left side. So, I'm going to kind of show you on the finished one. So I go darker here. And later on, we're going to add on the dark blue also, but go a little darker here and leave this side lighter. So in all of these sections, you're going to see where the lighter parts are and shade those or leave them unshaded. So I'm going to leave this here, but I'm also going to do it here. But my shading gets lighter. or non-existent almost in one area, right? So we have now shaded certain sections. And we're going to pick up our dark blue and we go darker on the side here of the front of the bike there. And on the top, but then right side on this section. And basically where all of the dark areas, the darker shaded areas are, you're going to use your dark blue to make it just a little bit darker. So where you shaded a little bit darker using the sky blue, you're now just going to add a slight shaded layering using the dark blue, just to give it a little bit more of some pop. And now you're going to pick up your black. And we're going to go, first we're going to shade the bike seat so you can outline it in black. And then we're going to shade on the bike seat because it's three-dimensional. We're going to kind of shade it in a curve like this, where it's darker in this section and a little bit lighter in the other section, but then really dark underneath the seat. And then we're going to outline our tire. So we're going to outline both sides of the tire, the inside and the outside shape. And on the outside on the left, we're going to shade, but we're going to leave a part of the wheel white on the right side until we get to this section here toward the bottom. And we fill that in with black. Shaded black. And when we get to around the other side, so we have a black stripe that is going kind of on the top and then also down the right side of the wheel, just very slightly. And we're going to draw the petals coming from here. So it goes up and then it's almost like a golf shape. And you go right over the bike, the body, in order to make the pedal. And we make a cylinder for the other pedal here. And we make the other pedal. We're going to make sort of a black shaded spot in the center here so that we can make our spokes. But you want to make your spokes very light, like a whisper of spokes. You're going to do the same with this, but you're going to make a line here. And then your spokes are actually going to come from that almost like a spider web, like this. And again, very light. And then we're going to put that down and we're going to grab our brown in order to make the shading on our path. We use brown and black. And it's sort of like tendrils. And then a little bit of shading, especially under this wheel. So first using brown and then adding some black. But shaded black. And while we have our brown, we can finally go up into our handle here. And we make our handle brown by outlining it. And then shading on the left side of the handle, like that. And then we're going to grab our gray for the other section, the handlebar, where you outline it and then again shade on the left side. And so finally our flowers in our basket are, I think, rather easy. I start off with the green. And first using the yellow green, and I start to kind of make in between the flowers. I start to kind of fill that in with some greenery. So again, that's why we make the flowers first as far as the drawing part, and then, we can draw in or kind of color in the stems. With the greenery. So you kind of pre-plan it. You can make green kind of go out even onto the sky area. And then you can make your basket, which is the brown. But you have to make sure to, shade around your greenery. And again, it's very loose, right? So you can see that I'm kind of making it almost like the texture of the basket by making it loose. And you can even go the opposite direction, a little darker. I didn't do that with the original, but I was just thinking this might look kind of neat to make it look a little more basket-like. Almost like a crisscross design. And then I added some orange. And then our final, for the flowers, I literally add areas of color using, yellow, orange, and pink. And here again, these are very loose. So I might draw with an orange, or I might draw with a red. And again, this was, very quick as well. And then I color in with pink, yellow, and orange. But they're very, if you want to take more time with these, as I mentioned, if you really love flowers and you know your flowers, unlike me, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the basket section. I sort of made them look flower-like. And then went in and kind of outlined sections, made sections darker. If it's a rose, you can kind of sort of outline with the darker color and then, kind of lighten it when you're shading. It's kind of what I did. But I know we've gone past, so I'm curious to see what everyone's looks like, and I'll let everybody finish up their flowers, off of the call. But I'm going to remove my spotlight and stop the recording.